Welcome, everyone. This is Trey Jadlow, and I am joined tonight by my friend Mark Anthony. We have had some interaction in the past, and Mark is we're in the same circle on Facebook or something. He posted something about a confident assertion that there is no God, and so we had engaged once before, and so I challenged Mark to once again to talk once again about that subject. So here we are. So welcome, Mark. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, I would like to turn my camera on once again so that people can see me. Hey, how is everyone doing?
What a handsome
Um,
dude.
yeah, and then I'll just turn it back off just to save bandwidth. And I think I need a haircut. Um, no, I'll stay on. You know what I'm saying? I'll stay on for now.
And we'll be
Um,
happy to see your face.
yeah. So, me and Trey, our last one went really well. I think it was smooth. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too boring. It kind of got to the point. And we just basically had a simple formula. We didn't really get to talk that much prior to this one, but I think the formula should be pretty much the same. Like you probably get like an introduction, then the other person gets an introduction, then you get a rebuttal to that person's introduction, then the other person, and then like maybe like, I don't know. You're right here. That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm just happy to have a conversation, however it goes. I was wondering if I might get a little information about you
Hmm.
regarding your background, because it seems to me, if I remember correctly, don't you have maybe some Christian influence in your life, but you are no longer in a camp? Would that be correct?
Yeah, absolutely. My background is kind of simple. I think a lot of atheists took the same road. I'm just a typical kid who didn't really care much about it. And if I ask my mom a question, I'd be like, "Oh, well, how did we get here?" Well, because God did it. The thing is, she says it as if it's the truth. Like I didn't even know that it was possible that it couldn't be true as a kid, which I think a lot of kids do. Like they ask their parents who they trust a question and they tell them a question. And I think their parents do believe that it's true. So, and I once I knew that it could possibly not be true, then a lot of things changed. Like I started questioning. So it was really not. I mean, I was one of those kids who really didn't really want to go to church, but I got dragged there and I'm sitting in the pew and it's boring and well, just like any other thing. But it was never any really heavy, overbearing Christian stuff on me. And it was it's just most of my family are Christian. I think I could have took the same path with the Muslim thing because we have a huge Muslim population in the Black culture. Also, where I happen to live, which is the Germantown area of Philadelphia, like there's like a lot of masjids around, and a lot of people are Muslim, and they present that as the Black people's religion. So
Mhm.
it could have been the same thing. And I see kids walking around with the Kimars and Kufis on at the age of 4 and 5, like babies wrapped in it. Like, come on, how can you fight that? Everybody else doing it. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's basically my background. It was not too eventful when it came to religion.
Okay, well, that's cool. Um, well, I guess I'd like to maybe latch on to that your statement that you said that your mom said that it's just like it's self-evident that God made us, and without really much reasoning. And the argument that I would make with that is to say that this is really the reason why there are very few atheists, because although people cannot articulate it very well, oftentimes everybody knows that they're not self-existent. They know that they're dependent for their existence. And if in fact we are dependent for our existence, then there must be a God who makes us. That's my argument.
Yeah, so this is your new argument you're using now?
No, same one. It's the
No,
same one.
no, no, no. I think like because I think my arguments evolved too from the last time we talked, and now you're equipped with this one, which I heard before. Um,
What do you mean? It's the same argument. I mean, I explained a little
oh,
bit differently, but you ask my friends, they'll say, "Oh gosh, Jadlow, just expressing it a little
oh,
different."
okay,
There's got to
okay.
be some. There's
Well,
got to be something, Mark, that's self-existent. I mean, things don't happen before they exist, and if we happen, there must be something with self-existence that made us, and that's God.
absolutely, I do. Yeah, absolutely. I want to respond to that, but I want to because when I was telling you to call me prior like 8:25 or or 7:25, I was actually thinking like, wait, this is going basically what I was doing is I was like, I don't want him to be like over prepared and I'm not prepared. So
Oh
I
no, that's
actually
okay.
No, I actually wrote down two of my arguments.
Oh,
So
okay.
what?
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you're
So
better
what I
prepared
want?
than me then.
Yeah, exactly.
I apologize for that. I just saw your message right before you called. It didn't give me a notification, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, there's no problem with that. So I think I kind of addressed. Oh no, I actually didn't address that in one of my arguments. So I guess I can just respond normally. But I do want it to be a time. Well, you just presented that argument, but I want it to be a time where I read my argument and present it, and then you respond. So I guess this is your one you're presenting, and then I'll
Okay.
respond.
Okay.
So as far as the people may just sounds like a side 10 type argument, but presuppositionalist. Uh, People may feel as though it's self-evident that God exists. I don't know what we mean by God, first of all. Like that's a loaded word right there, which it shouldn't be, because God is poorly defined. I've heard the reason why I enjoy these debates or conversations. I rather be in a Christian hangout, and I'm like the only atheist because it never fails to intrigue me the different definitions of religious terms that I hear. For example, I heard Adam and Eve were not really people. He was clearly talking about Adam, the first atom that was created, and Eve meant the Eve of our. And I'm telling you, I literally heard everything. I had this friend who believed in God, and she called it God, but it was like this force. Like it wasn't really a person. I'm like, okay, so it's a spirit. She's like, no, it's not really a spirit. It's just like permeating throughout the whole universe, and it's just like you could feel. I was like, oh, you're talking about like the force on Star Wars. They're like, yeah, pretty much. So she had a force type guy, like, and I'm talking, and so that's what makes it entertaining to me. So once again, just knowing that God could be poorly defined, or like that, and just how would I put it, subjective to so many people. But let's just move past that and act as if we're talking about the God of the Bible. I don't care if people consider it evident, and then they give it characteristics because it's not evident to me. I would think something that was evident would come with evidence. And if they poorly articulate it, that's a reason why. I can articulate it for them. It's subconscious. I can say, you truly just actually want to believe. And that feeling is your feeling of hope and desire for all the things that it represents. Because, and the good thing about it is I had that. It represented eternal life. It represented a place called heaven, Wonderland. It represented the fact that I'll be able to see my dead grandmother when I die, get all my questions answered, interact with the most greatest being in the universe. It represented all those things. So maybe, just maybe, when I felt it and I believed it, it was just because I really, really wanted it. And I didn't really think about if it made sense, nor did I want to.
Okay. So, but I'm not making an argument for a feeling or even I'm not a presuppositionalist. I think you know that. And I don't believe that God reveals himself somewhere apart from the mind, but I think it's something that we discover as we contemplate our own being in the fact that we are not self-existent. So what I'm saying is not something that I want to exist or I really desire to exist, but it's something that I analyze through my mind and through propositional facts and understand through that there actually is a God because I know that I'm not self-existent. Now, many people are not able to articulate that very well. They don't know why. You ask them why, and they just know there is it. But instinctively, they do it through their mind, even though they don't really understand why they believe it. Now, I think there are people also that add a layer of desire on there because they heard these things and they think, oh, I would like to go to heaven and I would like to see my relatives. I would like to have eternal life and the things that you stated. That is true, but at the very foundation, the idea of God's existence, and when you talk about God saying you don't know who he is, right now I'm talking about just simply as a creator, just someone who has made us and gives us being, our existence. That's
I
something
would
that I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, if you had a little, well, I wouldn't call that God necessarily. It would really have to be very specific. I talked about this in one of my YouTube videos. Like, just because a being created us, you can't just call it God. And that's why I would rather a God to be more defined because then I can destroy him easier. He's so slippery once you destroy, like, one god, they'll just call it something else. Well, I'll be like, yeah, but he couldn't exist because of the Big Bang. And somebody will be like, God is the Big Bang. That's what you don't get. And it's just so easy. Like, God is love. Like, love exists, and it's just, I done heard every single thing. But what I'm saying is, let's say we were created by a being, which is way more possible than these characters that were created. So a being, which I think would be possible. I think scientists have grown microbial life in a lab and things like that. So humans have created new life and things like that. So it's nothing that would stop me from thinking an advanced form of humanity could create life at a full extent, or greater than this. I have a huge imagination, and or an alien life form could create human life. That doesn't mean they care about it. That doesn't mean they even, pay it any mind. These people could just be creating lives all the time and just disregard it. They don't care about it emotionally or physically or nothing like that. So first of all, if a being did create us, you shouldn't give it that name, God. The word God, usually it used to be referred to Yahweh. Like, that is a character. Everything that he represents, like, it's a name for a something. You can't give a name to something that's not, specific, because you're just moving the name around. And also, I have to admit, I did not, in my first rebuttal to your thing, I did not talk about the self-existence thing. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick. And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm being long-winded. Am I being long-winded?
You're fine.
Oh, okay. So the self-existence thing, I mean, that's kind of simple. You're just asserting that you have no proof. One thing that religion allows people to do is pretend they know things that they don't, because they get to cite, the smartest person in the world can never be wrong. But you can't just say that nothing is self-existent except for this thing that I believe in. You have to prove that. And furthermore, I have a belief on the subject. I have a belief that there is no such thing as nothing, period. That is a concept that doesn't exist.
That's right.
In one of my arguments, in my argument that I'm probably going to get to sooner or later, I talk about how I don't think that the supernatural exists, meaning that I think it's a meaningless word. And But I'll get to that. All right, I just stay on my nothing thing, so I don't get into that argument. Um, I don't think that nothing can exist. So just because I don't know, it's just all right. So it
Well,
was either
let me put it
yeah.
this way:
Mhm.
if something exists now, then it logically follows that something has always existed. In other words,
Absolutely.
yeah, because I mean, if we exist now, that's part of the foundation of my argument. I'm saying if I can have enough sense perception to logic that I exist, then I know that something must have existed for all eternity. Because nothing, when there's something, you can't get something from nothing. Because even the idea of nothing itself is an idea. You can't even contemplate pure nothingness. But if there were absolutely pure nothingness, then we would have nothingness right now, but we don't. So it logically follows that something must exist eternally.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So let's say I follow that. I don't necessarily when I talked about how we can pretend to know things that we don't, what I'm saying is I may not even be right. Nothing could possibly exist, but it just seems like it's a belief, like, and it's not faith-based. It's just something that I think is logical. I think it's logical that something always exists in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter if we don't know the form. It doesn't even matter if we will never know, like if we never figure it out, and can never know. There are a lot of questions that I think we cannot know, uh, and this is one of them. So something we really could not know. Is no tool, is no anything, because, well, all right, maybe we might be able to transcend beyond space and time. But I would say that if there is no space and time, you can't observe, you can't do any of that. So everything that we know go out the window. So it's no reason to really speak on it. But what I'm saying is this: the difference is, you say there's an eternal thing. I say there's an eternal thing. You say it's your God of your choosing. And I say it's nature. Natural things always existed. And that's just, you can't say why nature, because nature is how it is. You
But
just,
nature changes, doesn't it?
yes, but however it was then, you can't say why does it exist, because that will be a flawed question. You can't say, okay. But why did the Big Bang bang? Maybe that's the nature of the Big Bang and it's nothing we can do about it. Like, why is water wet? It has no reason to display those qualities, but it does. That's the
I'm
beauty
not.
of
I'm not
life.
making Mark. I'm not making that argument. All I'm saying is if something changes, then it by definition is contingent. It's dependent for its existence. And you can't have
No,
contingent things making themselves before they exist. That's the whole point. So
no,
maybe it's not all
no,
those.
you said making themselves. That's the thing. I know what you're doing. You're throwing a lot of you're throwing a lot of God type of characteristics into it instead of thinking about it as something you don't know. So you're saying it can't make itself. You're already throwing the creation thing in there, like
Well,
make
yes,
itself.
because it happened, right?
No, 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 no. Well, that's why I said no. You're completely missed what I said. I'm saying that nothing was created. Nothing, and or not nothing was created. There was nothing, there was no creation. Everything has always existed in some way, shape, or form.
But does it
So
happen?
that's what I'm saying. Would you say?
Does everything happen that you're talking about in this subset or this set of everything that is and it's been eternal? Is it happening? Is it changing? Is it subject to change?
Yeah, but changing, yeah, what you said was false, that if something changes, then it can't be eternal. So,
That's,
infinity can go from one to two to three to four. It's changing, you're measuring it. That doesn't
it's,
mean it'll end, and that doesn't mean it ever started.
but
It
well,
has
yes, it
always
did
been going
start.
on.
It did start. Stuff that
No, no,
has to start because it doesn't, it's an effect by definition, is what you're saying. Stuff that changes is an effect, right? It happens. Isn't that what
no,
an
I'm
effect
not
is?
saying that. No, because think about like this. When you have infinity, you have unlimited. And I do mean unlimited to draw from. Infinity doesn't start or end. Infinity is infinite. Now, I mean, first of all you have to do is just think about it like your God. I don't know why this went on like that. The same way that you would describe your God.
No, no, I would not.
No,
What you're doing is what you're doing by saying adding infinity to it, you're only compounding your problem infinitely. In other words, you're
no.
saying it's an infinity of stuff happening without a cause, and you can't have an effect without a cause.
You said it was effect. I didn't. That's what I'm saying. And you
But
continue to
you're
say that.
describing an effect and then saying it's not an effect, but it is an
No,
effect.
it's not. It's not. I'm saying all things, I'm saying things have always existed in some way, shape, or form. If they change shape, that doesn't matter. So all they're doing is changing shape. Just like if like just think about how you think that God has always existed. There was nothing before
Yeah,
him.
but
He will always exist.
my
No, but
definition
I'm
of
just
God, my definition of God is not that he changes. That's the whole point. He's self-existent. He is not subject to change. He is pure actuality. He has no potentiality. You can't have potentiality without actuality, and that's what you're doing. You're positing an infinite set of potentialities. Potentiality cannot exist without actuality, with something that has pure being.
I
That's
have no
Aristotelian
idea what that
terminology.
means, and I know that I have no idea what that means, and I'm still sure it's wrong because changing, like, no, seriously, because you can use those words, but changing does not mean because, and this is what I
It's
was talking
being
about
and
in another.
becoming. It's some being and becoming. This is Aristotelian, but it's also before Plato. I mean, before Socrates even. Heraclitus and Parmenides had this argument about stuff happening and stuff that doesn't happen. Heraclitus said, if you walk into a river and you put your foot into the river, that river is changing. When you take your foot out and put it back in again, he said that river is not the same river, and you are not the same person because you have changed. Everything is changing all the time. But then Parmenides came along and said, well, wait a minute. Whatever is, comma, is. In other words, he was saying if there's not some unchanging element to reality, then really reality is not. You can't have pure change without something of continuity of being. And so they started the whole argument between being and becoming, or actuality and potentiality. And that's what I'm saying. You can't have stuff that just changes all the time without something that has an unchanging nature to give it its being, its essence. It's something that can give it existence.
Well, I just completely disagree. I just like I don't know what to say because I just completely disagree. I think that's like a fake problem to make a God relevant. I hear these all the time. I also hear a lot of quotes from old great philosophers and scientists that are very stupid. They were ahead of their time, like back then. No, seriously, like, like Pascal's wager and all these other like quotes. And great scientists and philosophers who was just on the brink. I forgot who that guy was. He was just on the brink of discovering something, but he like literally gave up and said he can't do it. It was somebody like great, like Newton or something. And then he literally gave up. But like in his books, like he were like so close to the edge, he just didn't, and he gave up and said something like, God must have did it or something like that. And it was a quote about basically the bottom line is I don't really care about those great guys because they were great at their time, and they had a lot of great discussions, but now we have pretty much finished a lot of their work and made it make more sense in these days. No, I'm not
That's
coming at you
because you don't
saying
know what
that.
you're talking about. All
No,
we're doing is
absolutely.
rehashing everything. It's been well said that Plato and Aristotle, all philosophy after Plato and Aristotle were mere footnotes to the work that they did. Those guys ask all the questions. All we do is repackage it and rehash it and act like it's something special, but it's not. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, but if you present something like, you know, if you present one of those quotes to me, I can break it down. Just like how I destroyed Pascal's wager before I had the internet and knew the official destruction of it. About if I believe in God and live all my life as if God exists, then um, and I die and come to find out I was wrong, then I lost nothing. But if you don't believe that God exists and live your life as if God doesn't exist, then come out when you die, you're wrong, then you lose everything. You actually burn in hell. Therefore, you should just believe in God because you're hedging your bets. And I was like, but wait a minute, like, but what about you did lose something because you were spending a lot of portion of your time like worshiping, this God that didn't exist, time in church, time and money that you could have been spending with your family. And also, belief is not a choice. If I don't believe something, it doesn't matter. And do you really think I can fake believe this God if I don't? And I'm going to trick him into allowing me into heaven? Belief is not, I can't believe that the sun doesn't exist right now. Like if I tried and said, okay, I just don't believe no more. So belief is not a choice. You can't trick God. Also, on top of all that, you did lose something. And also, what about the fears of other gods that you don't believe? Who have so if that's the case, you could end up in the Hindu hell or something like that, even if you were wrong. So we can both go to hell regardless if you live like that and I live like this. So I can see, so you might as well just it's too random, like, but that's how I was thinking in school when I first heard something like that. And like that was like the biggest Christian argument back then. Like, well, it was every religion's argument back then, honestly.
Yeah, that's not a very good argument. Actually, the problem with Pascal's wager is if you were loving God for the purpose of getting into heaven and basically lying to him, why would he be pleased by you to basically whore him so that you can get into heaven? That's kind of silly. But Pascal's wager is not. I mean, it was out of his pensées, basically just thoughts that he just random thoughts he had here. And it
Yeah.
wasn't some systematic thought that he brought to. So I mean, it's no big deal to me. But that's not
Yeah,
that's not
yeah.
the argument I'm using either. I'm using an analytic argument. It's not an argument for
Absolutely.
practical.
I just really think that how would I put it? I can't get well, I think I think I did explain it pretty well where I said when you have eternity, you have everything to draw from and changing doesn't I really think we're just going to disagree because I'm saying like matter and energy are eternal and they do change and that's their nature. You can go and say why, but I would think that's a false question because when you ask why, you're assuming intention. You can't assume intention unless you know that there was intention.
So you're saying
So
intention exists?
absolutely intention exists.
All right. How do you have intention come about accidentally?
I never said it came by accident, so
Okay. How
that's
did it come
another thing.
about? Did it
I
come
didn't
about
say.
unintentionally?
Yeah, intention can come about unintentionally. Everything, it comes out. How about we say naturally? So the difference between, so you have your position as supernatural, and my position is natural.
Well, yours is
Oh,
just
oh,
it's magic. That's why what you're saying,
yeah,
basically.
absolutely. Yeah,
Unint-
can I get to? Yeah, no, it really is. But can I get to my little thing? Because I took like
sure,
30 minutes to write
sure,
it.
sure.
It's
Go
not
ahead.
long.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
fine.
long enough.
That's fine.
So I have two arguments that I wrote. They're not, I speak them just like how I write them just like how I speak. But so I'm going to my S note on my Galaxy Note. And we mentioned a lot of things. So I have two arguments. First is the lazy argument. I made this one up myself. Okay. So the lazy argument is that to me, religious books are fairy tales, aka myths. If people did not believe that they were real, I wouldn't care. The fact that they do is what makes me speak on them. But honestly, I am too lazy to research all of these books and scriptures so I can have exact passages memorized and exact pages, Also, because I know that you don't have to be an expert in any field to simply recognize what a fiction is. You don't have to be an expert to recognize what evil is or a contradiction or a plot hole. Also, not enough time in a lifetime to study all religions, aka myths, especially knowing
Oh, he's cutting out. I think his phone might be getting hot or something. He's doing it from his. He's hanging up from his phone. Hoping to lose him. Hmm. Not sure how to do this. Hello, Mark. He's still hooked up, but I'm not too hip with technical issues on this. Hello. Really quick. Let's see if he gets his. What if I boot him out and then he can join? Hey, you there, Mark?
yeah.
Oh, you
I'm
were out for like 3 or 4 minutes. I
Oh my
don't know what
goodness.
happened.
I spoke the whole time. The whole time I was speaking, I even like I mean the whole time. And I know what it is. Like I said, I was having problems with the Hangout app. It always crashed. Not always, but if I leave and go into another app,
Oh, it
um
makes it
yeah,
crash.
it just makes it crash. But that wait, look, it's saying hang. It constantly say Hangout is not responding. Should you close it or wait? And I always click wait, and it works just fine. So I'll not go back to that argument because
Okay.
no
It
I
might
know I
it might
want
use
to
too much for the phone.
no I want to go into the argument, but I'm not going to go back to the S note thing because
Okay.
I pretty much know it now. I done said it. All right. So where did I cut off at?
I don't know. You were speaking about not wanting to research it because it's a myth anyway, or something like that.
Oh yeah. So to keep it more simple than what I went on as I was basically saying that you don't have to be an expert to recognize what is fiction. Just the same way you don't have to be an expert on something to recognize what is evil. and you don't have to be an expert to recognize what is a plot hole and things like that. So when people say, "Well, do you have a PhD in religious study?" No, but just because you studied it and you have a PhD, like I think that makes me way better than you because I went out and enjoyed life and played with my son while you were reading old fairy tales. Like I have no real interest in studying these things. But and people will say, if you have no real interest in studying these things, why would you talk about it? It's because simply people believe myths. Like people are really walking around believing that, that these things are real. So, and I postulate that anybody who felt as though that the majority of the people believed in a fairy tale, I'm talking about like it was actually real, such as Harry Potter, you would have something to say about it. But I don't. That doesn't mean you should dedicate your life and your education to it. I just think that's nonsense. Also, I went on to talk about another reason why I don't do it is because there are so many books, religious texts, that there is not enough time in a human lifespan to read all of them. So why would I choose yours just because you're the one? If I can't,
I'm not, yeah, but Mark, I'm not referring to a religious text or anything at this point. All I'm doing is asking you to do kindergarten logic. I mean, it's something that a child understands. You know, you're
yeah,
not self-existent, and you know that you are dependent for your existence, right?
dependent meaning what?
If you stop eating, you'll die. If you go outside, the sun affects you. You are a dependent being.
So
Dependent
therefore,
beings
so
cannot
therefore God.
exist. Yes,
No, oh no, no, no. I think you have a lot of those. Yeah, you do sound kind of presuppositionalist because,
I'm not.
well, no, well, you sound like side 10 sometimes when you say things like, you can't just make assertions. It's just not true. Like you can't say dependent beings, you know.
Are dependent.
No, no, that's not what you said. Because if you said you're a dependent being and you're dependent, that would make sense. You said you're a dependent being, therefore God. Now, and that's a beautiful thing. If you take out the
If so,
middle
can
premise,
something be dependent without on something in which it depends? It's real simple.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. How does that go to a God? That makes literally no sense. All
It
you
makes
have to
total
do
sense.
when people do these logical games, if you start with their beginning and then go to their end, and you see completely how unrelated their
That's
beginning and
that's
their
not a
end is.
my argument is not circular, my friend. I am making an analytic
No,
argument that
no.
progresses from a premises to a conclusion.
Okay, so you are a dependent being, therefore spaghetti monster, or therefore Harry Potter. It makes
If
literally no
if
sense.
Harry Potter and Spaghetti Monster are self-existent, the argument is valid.
Exactly. And okay, so now we hit to the problem. This is the fallacy right here. It doesn't matter if you described your God as self-existent. I don't care at all because you didn't prove that. So once again, I didn't prove that Todd, the God-eating penguin, is real, but I can
I
say
The
by
argument
definite.
itself is an argument for analytic argument. In other words, yes, I did prove. I didn't
No,
prove
no,
Yahweh at this point. I
exactly,
proved a
exactly.
self-existent
I
creator.
understand. I hear this all the time in debates. But what I'm saying is that's the problem. If you're not trying to prove that God, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say about said being because you didn't prove that it's possible for that stuff to exist. Like I said, you didn't prove that it was possible for, this.
You're cutting out again.
Like I said, I could say that and I could lie and say God eating penguin, the God eating penguin eats, by definition, he eats all gods with 100% certainty, and he's spaceless, timeless, immaterial. So if you're dependent on the God eating penguin. None
Yeah,
of
but
this
that's
means
that's a synthetic argument you just made. It's not an analytic argument. You're
that's
adding
that's my
penguin eating
point.
to it, and it's not a part of the argument. It's not part of the analysis.
You get okay, so I'm trying to get you to understand what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what you insert as a self-existent
Yes,
thing
it does.
because you did not. No, listen, because you not did not prove said self-existent thing, which you admitted. You admitted I'm not making an argument for a specific self-existent thing,
That's
but
right.
you also did not prove that something could be self-existent.
And I
You
did.
just
That's what the
believed
argument
it.
is. No.
Exactly. No, I'm agreeing with you. I agree. You didn't prove a specific God or a self-existing being. I agree. These are two things that you failed at. I agree.
Oh my.
Yeah.
It
And
doesn't
so
matter what I say, does it?
no, I'm saying you literally said a baseless logical argument. It didn't, it
So
didn't
the law of
hit.
non-contradiction is baseless when you're talking logic.
No, because you said things that didn't contradict themselves. You want them to contradict. You can make a fake problem all the time. You can say, without God, there is no morality. Without, I've heard all this. Without God, there is no love. Without,
Okay,
but
but
you
those are
didn't.
different arguments. That's not the argument I'm making here. Those are completely different categories. That's not what I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of the necessity of a deity if contingency exists for self-existence. You can't have contingency without self-existence.
Okay, so let me explain like this. Okay, so the Big Bang happened. That's all we know. 13.5 billion years ago. Life started emerging as simple-celled organisms. Simple-celled organisms divided into multi-celled organisms. They divided into simple organisms such as tadpoles, evolved into frog-like things, and those evolved into rat-like things and marsupials, and they evolved into monkey-like things. All went on and everything like that. Um, None of this, and then of course Neanderthals, cavemen, humans, and things like that. None of this, and I'm saying all natural. I'm saying all natural occurrences, like
Creating
the
themselves before they exist.
no, I never said. See, that's what I'm saying. You didn't listen. So I'm talking about natural process of the chemicals expanding into the universe heating up and cooling. And then I'm talking about, the chemicals forming DNA, RNA, and polynucleotides turning into DNA and RNA, excuse me, and then turning into simple-celled organisms. What I'm saying is all of those are natural processes. So once again, what reason would I have to invoke any supernatural thing on? Well, because they and if they eat things, therefore God, that makes literally no sense. Everything that I'm talking about is a natural occurrence. And there is nothing that says if you eat things or if you breathe air, therefore my God must exist. It makes no
I
sense.
never said they did. I don't know where you got
I
that.
know. Oh, yes. Okay. So we're in agreement that being dependent doesn't mean that a God exists, right?
Oh, dependent. Yeah, if you're talking about eating, you're talking about dependency. Yes.
But that's what
Dependency
I just
must
said.
have that on which it depends. Do you agree?
Yes, such as natural things like
Okay.
air.
Okay. And are all the things in this set that you have of existence, natural existence, are all of those things dependent?
I don't know. I would have to think about that.
They're contingent, which means
Contingent.
dependent. They could either be or not be. There's something that happens.
I don't know. I really don't know. I wouldn't because oh well, I would say no in the grand scheme of things because matter can be neither created or destroyed. So even if I die, I'm still all the things that I was. I'm just not conscious anymore, and my body
Okay.
will just change into something else. So
Okay, well, the law of
that's another thing.
conservation is speaking in a general sense of all the matter that we have now. It's not growing or it's not getting more or anything like that. But
No,
so
but
within a
that's the
closed
thing.
system, we've got all that we've got basically for material. And I agree with
Yes.
that. But it's changing. It's not self-existent.
Once again, you're creating. I will never agree. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We could easily just agree to disagree. I will never agree that change means a God exists. I would never agree that change means you don't exist forever. I would never agree that, if you breathe air, that means a God exists. None of this leads to a God existing. So, and that's what I'm saying. This whole conversation started because I said God doesn't exist. And you seem to be admitting that, hey, I didn't prove a God. Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I wasn't talking about Yahweh. And I understand because these logical arguments, they don't prove gods, but they
Well,
do try to.
yeah, but that
No,
doesn't matter. I mean, that I'm saying that my God is so much more than the first mover or the creator of everything, but he also is no less than that. So you've got to start with that thing, and I'm starting with the undeniable reality that God exists, and you don't like it, but you have not rebutted it.
I did. So what is undeniable about God's existence? So you're saying that you have some proof that he exists?
Yes, you.
I never heard that one before. What about this that Muslim guy who said the same thing, or this Hindu guy that said the same thing?
We're well, Hindus. I mean, Hindus believe in multiple gods, and Islam, is unity God, unified God. Um, on that issue, we may be in complete agreement if they want to say, I don't know how Hindu could do it because you can't have multiple self-existences, but with Islam, I could agree on that particular point if they want to say that God created us because in fact, a Muslim apologist, I don't think they would disagree with me on that particular point. We do, once you go move on from that point, we do not have the same gods. They are different, and there's got to be different evidences for the specific, specific characteristics that we are say that are particular gods. But at the very foundation, we know that there's a creator. That's the thing that cannot be denied.
And I'm saying how?
Because we're not self-existent. Contingent creatures cannot create themselves before they exist.
Nobody
Causes
said
can.
nobody said a creature created itself though.
Well, yeah, that's what you're saying. You're saying all nature, which is creature, created
No,
itself before it existed.
no, you're using that word. Creature is a bad word. It is. And there's a lot of
Contingent,
bad words.
a contingent creature. A creature to me is a contingent being is a creature.
I
You can
know,
say
but
contingent
because
being if you want to.
and I have another argument. That's my this is like time for my second argument. And my second argument is called "A rose by any other name would smell just as sweet." It's the rose by any other name argument, meaning it doesn't matter what word you use. It still is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So if you gave a rose a different name, it would still be a rose, right? Because the word you give to it doesn't matter. And I was
Yes,
talking about how
that's right.
people use these words interchangeably whenever it's convenient to try to prove their point.
That's very
And
true.
yeah, and so when they say things like, and I like how it was two things that you said that relate to this. One of them when you said, yeah, you'll just call it magic. And then I wanted to say my argument then because by the definition of the words, God's powers are magic, and it doesn't, and then God is supernatural by all definitions. And I even went, in a joke and said God is a man because he shows those manly characteristics. And when he came down in his human form, he was a man. He's referred to as he all the time. And when he came down in his human form, he had a penis and a wife. So he is a man. And then basically in conclusion, I was like, so this statement is literally true. You believe in an invisible magic man in the sky. And Christians really hate when I say that. That's my number one thing that I say. And they hate it because it puts it in perspective as what they, as an adult, actually believe. They believe in an invisible magic man in the sky. And I could go further and further, who lives, who is everywhere but nowhere at the same time, undetectable, spaceless and timeless. All these like completely outrageous things. And what they will do is they will describe it in different ways to try to make it not sound as weird. But I don't care if you call it not magic, it still is magic. And I also went on to talk about how they don't understand evolution because of this, because they don't realize that just because we gave ourselves, or we gave a lot of animals different names to categorize them to make it easy for us, you don't realize that we are a part of the same grand species. We are all a part of the same grand species, and that naming is probably what confused you guys because we are apes and we are monkeys by the definitions. And I talked about how kinds is very poorly defined. Kinds doesn't mean anything. You can't get somebody to specify what kinds is, but scientific terms like speciology and genotypes are very defined. And that's why y'all don't want to use that. They're very defined. So we are by definition monkeys and apes. And if we decided to not separate ourselves, then a lot of people like, and I'm talking about by names here. We only separated ourselves by names, and we gave these names based on physical characteristics that beings represent.
So why are
So
humans so special to you?
I didn't say they were special. Well, I'll tell you why. Because I'm one, and I'm biased to things that are like me. That's all it is.
Okay, so where do you get your idea that you are special? That's teleology. That's purpose.
Oh no, I don't. Once again, I don't think we're special. You're not hearing me. I am biased. I'm biased to anything that's more like me. The more something is like me, the more
Why?
biased.
That's my
Well, it's
question.
it's easy. I already had a video on this as well. Um, because we want things that are like us to exist more, such
Why?
as I'll tell you why. Because we enjoy the company of things that are more like us. Just think
Why?
about it. I'll tell you. I'm telling you why every time I speak. So let me like. So my family, my immediate family, such as my mother, my brother, and my sister, and everything like that, I care about them way more than I care about anybody else. So,
Why?
and then I told you why. I'm going to continue. I'm going to tell you the why of everything. So, because they're more like me. They have more of my, DNA in them, and
Hmm.
they are more like me. They look more like me and
Because you're
everything.
special to you.
No, I'm
To you,
yeah,
you're
of course I'm
special.
special to me, of
Why?
course,
Why is
and
that? Why is that?
because I have a self bias as well. Of course, I care about myself more than I
So
care
you
about
have a
my
self,
family. Yes, absolutely. Which is a emergent property of the brain called consciousness. We already know that.
and it's
So,
purposive, right?
what does that mean? It's what?
You purposive. You have purpose. You
Oh,
purpose
hell no.
things.
No. Yeah. So just because I create purposes with my thinking brain, that doesn't mean my brain was created with a
Yeah, but
purpose.
you have innate value. In other words, you value things. You've been programmed to value, have you not?
Uh, yes, through evolution.
Okay, so does
Absolutely.
evolution have efficient cause? In other words, does evolution have purpose? Does evolution's purpose things?
No.
Okay, then
Evolution.
how did it come about then? Because there's no
Uh,
efficient cause for Darwinian evolution.
yes, it is. So once again, that's what I'm saying. You can, if you try not to actually understand it or try to misrepresent what it is, then you can easily. But so if you say, how did evolution come about if it doesn't have a purpose? That's the beauty of it, naturally, which I keep saying
It's
it
magic.
did. No,
It doesn't
how
make
is
any sense. It just happened that way. It's a fairy tale.
no, how is natural magic? Natural is the exact opposite of magic. And
You
for
can't,
example,
Mark, you can't have unintentioned intentionality because you're
yeah,
violating the law
and
of
that's because
identity.
exactly, and that's why I didn't say that. So if you listen to what I'm saying that evolution is a simple natural process, and all it says that things that can survive will survive, and if these things can generate offspring, they will because they are alive. So it's very simple. So if somehow
You're assuming the conclusion in your explanation. I'm
no, I
saying
didn't. I
why.
didn't assume. I didn't know. Once again, you're saying why? That's a wrong question. So once again, evolution is a system. It's not a being. It doesn't have a per. Evolution is simply a process, and the theory of evolution is just explaining this natural and easy to understand process. All those terms you're saying, I'm not saying they have nothing to do with me. So what I'm saying is evolution is a process in which whatever can survive will survive. And if things can survive, they will. And then the things that do survive will continue to generate other things, like if they give up offspring, such as,
Yeah.
birds,
But
bees, and humans. But
but
no,
Mark, I'm not referring to natural selection at all. That's not my point at all. My point
but
is
that's evolution.
yeah, but I want to know why you are purposing to live when your life is meaningless. Why how do you
I
give
never
that
said my life
conundrum?
was meaningless. So once again,
Oh,
you
so you
seem to be
fantasize that there's meaning, but it's really not, right?
no. So I don't know what you're saying. So maybe you should listen to me. Once again, I don't understand why you keep saying all these things. I never said my life was meaningless. And you keep saying why. When you say why, only say why when you're talking about something that has been confirmed and proven to have a conscious intentional agent behind it. If said thing isn't confirmed or proven, then the word why is irrelevant because you're assuming the conclusion. So the why is irrelevant. If you're talking to me and asking me why, then use the words that I'm actually saying because I never said my life has doesn't have any meaning.
So
My
your
life
life
has
has meaning. I want you to explain it to me. What do you mean by your life has meaning?
I have wants, feelings, and desires. Whoa. So therefore, um, since I have wants,
I
feelings,
want
and
to know
desires,
why you do that because there's no real intrinsic value to your life. Why do you act like it is
you
valuable?
said that. So once again, if you're asking me, why are you saying things that you said? I didn't say that. I didn't say
So
there's no
so
intrinsic value.
so you do believe you have intrinsic value.
Yes, within me, yes. My value is first of all, think about
So
it.
you have objective value as a human being. You are valuable because you are a human.
No, 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 no. Listen, I am valuable because I am me. That's what you're not getting. For some reason, you Christians think that if you get your value from somebody else, that makes it better. I think that is the most backward stuff of all times. The most important value is a value that you get from yourself, not a pastor,
Okay,
not a
where does it come
book.
from though? I'm not
I
talking about
just told you.
contingents
You
giving.
yeah. So when you ask me, let me speak and let me tell you where it come from, and let me tell you why it's the most important. It comes from me, which is the most important. There is no value higher than the value that I give myself. There is no morality higher than the morality that I give myself.
But why do you
Period.
have that when it doesn't really
Uh,
exist?
You said it doesn't really exist. I never said that.
I'm
So
saying, where does it
anything,
come from? How do you justify your being a valuable creature when we're
okay,
in a world of valuelessness?
I don't know why you said that, but anyway, once again, no, seriously, you're saying all those valuelessness and valueless creatures. I didn't say that. So, and all right, so I'll tell you why it comes from me again.
Okay.
It comes from me because I have thoughts, feelings, wants, and aspirations. So, because I have thoughts, feelings, wants, and aspirations, it gives my life a purpose to achieve all those things. I also have huge desire for happiness, and those things lead to happiness.
Okay.
Therefore, I plan on pursuing them, and I do.
Okay.
Where is that hard to understand?
All
How is
you're
that
giving me
possible?
is one of Rudyard Kipling's Just So stories. You're saying, I have purpose because that's the kind of purpose that I am. That's the kind of person that I am. I'm a purposeful person. I'm not asking you to give me an explanation of the very thing that I'm asking. I'm asking you to tell me how you can have purpose when in fact you are an accident and you have no intrinsic purpose.
Well, once again, those statements come from you. So I didn't say anything about me being an accident, and I didn't say anything about
Oh, so
me
you
not
were purposed.
so there's only accident and purpose in the world, huh?
That's right. Yes.
That's false. That's clearly false.
Okay, so there's only
The fake problems that you create, yeah, that's
okay, so
false.
there's accident and there's purpose and what is the other category?
No, there I didn't those are not two categories. There is only one category.
What is it?
There's nature. So I am
Oh,
an
accident then, because it's
no,
impersonal, right?
no. Listen, an accident is a mistake.
Okay, let's
So
let's say unintentional.
nobody,
There's only unintention. That's the only kind we have. We
yeah,
don't
but
have
even
intention.
that, like you're using all flawed words.
Okay, well, give me a word that makes sense to you.
I did. I said nature. So listen, let me
Nature
just
doesn't
destroy.
tell, that
Yes,
doesn't
it
address
does.
the issue.
Yes, it does. So let me just destroy these two words. You're using humanistic words, and who would have thought that you would be using humanistic words such as intention, accident? Humans have accidents. Humans have intention. Nature is not a human. Nature is a process that
That's
we
right. Do you
understand.
have intention? Are you
Oh,
part
yeah.
of nature?
Yes. What are you saying? Do I have intentions as a person?
Yeah,
Or what?
you said you're part of nature and you're human and you have intention, right?
Oh yeah, I thought you were saying, was I like, was I designed with some type of intention? I don't
Well,
know.
that's what intention is.
No. I'm saying
When you
when,
intend something, you design it, right? When you intend to get a
oh,
beer,
absolutely, yeah.
you design
Then of
the
course I
act of
have
getting
it.
a beer.
Yeah, so but when you said accident and what were you talking about when you said accident and stuff like that?
Unintentionality.
Yeah, why were you talking about that? You were talking about me, or were you saying I came here via accident? That's what I think you were saying.
I'm asking for a justification for the existence of teleology in a world of non-personhood. Teleology is, purpose, or teleonomy, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't care about studying those words. I heard all these, the teleological argument and all those things. Most of it is just to try to sound smart. And like I've heard, no, seriously, I heard William Lane Craig do all these things, and he basically said, he used all those words, and he basically said, so since the universe had a beginning, therefore God. I'm like, whoa, that was easy. Like that was his whole thing, and he gave this whole speech.
Well, that's
Anything
not
that
his
has
teleology argument. That's his cosmological argument, or
Yeah, the
cosmology.
cosmological argument. And teleology is the purpose of, yeah, I know. I used to know all those arguments and all the fallacies. It made no sense. Like I could just, but anyway, the fallacy that you made, you did make this fallacy. You said I was an accident, knowing that I was just an accident, meaning I was created via accident. And then you said, okay, so there was either purpose or unintention. And
Mhm.
what I was saying is that when you said purpose or unintention, it sounded like you were talking about I was either created with a purpose or created with unintention.
Mhm.
By that, I would say it's unintentional, but even unintention is not the right word because That is something that a being possesses. The universe doesn't have intention,
Okay,
nor
see,
does it
random.
have unintention.
Is random okay for you?
No, random is not okay. Just say
Chance?
natural.
Chance?
No, because it's not. Chance happens. No, chance happens in some instances, but chance happens in some instances, but um,
So
not
chance can
every.
create things?
No, chance is how some things work, like such as
So
quantum
does chance
mechanics.
have, so does chance have, does chance some kind of power that has, exerts force upon the flip of a coin?
No, chance is once again just a natural process.
So it doesn't
Something.
really have ontology, right? It's just a word we use to talk about mathematical probabilities, but there's really no such entity as chance, right?
Absolutely. Now you get
Okay.
it. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
So once again, yeah, it's no
So chance
accident.
can't create anything, right? Nothing
Um,
can be made by chance.
yeah, absolutely. Nothing can be made by chance, but chance is how a lot of things operate. And who knows, maybe we might understand. No, a lot of things operate by chance, such as
Well, you
the
just
mute.
said chance can't create, and you said some things operate by chance.
No, I'm talking about the way some functions or work are really random. So, like I said, mutations in the DNA, they're random. We cannot find a a pattern, But maybe, just maybe, if we had the computing power or the brain power to be able to, crunch all the numbers, and maybe we could find a pattern, such as pi. Maybe we could find a pattern in pi if we did it. If we had like the superest computers, and then we'll find out that it's actually like a 95% chance that it's going to be this or whatever. But the thing is, a lot of things seem to operate based on randomness and a lot of numbers are hard to divide, based on pi and things like that. But for the most part, and once again, chance is just our way of describing that things are happening seemingly at random. But that doesn't mean, like you said, chance doesn't create something. Chance is an
Right.
entity or a force. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we agreed on that.
Mm-hmm.
So to clarify,
Now we're
life
friends.
yeah, life is not an accident, you know, and all these things. So do you have any another point to address?
No, I need to get going here pretty soon. I got to go home and have dinner and
Yeah,
do
yeah,
some
that's
laundry
fine.
and stuff.
We've been on here for
So,
like an hour. What about my you have a rebuttal to my rose by any other name argument and how people try to change the definition of words, but in all actuality, they're just
yeah.
being dishonest.
Well, no, yeah, I think if people do that, it's a fallacy of equivocation or a new true Scotsman fallacy where people will make a point, and then if you rebut it, they'll move the goalposts. They'll change the definition of whatever it is they're talking about.
Mhm.
Christians do it, atheists do it, everybody does it, and so you got to be really careful with your terminology. And if somebody's changing, I think your point is right. A rose by another name smells just as sweet, and that's exactly what I'm saying about purposeness for you. You say that purpose doesn't exist, and yet you describe all the attributes of purpose and say that you are a purposive creature, and yet you have no intentionality. I would say the same thing to you. A rose by any other name smells just as sweet.
Absolutely. Well, maybe it's because you're looking for and maybe starting off with an outside purpose, which I don't
or
think could
or
be
purpose.
less.
Well, yeah, but you can't have an inside purpose without an outside purpose because it cannot arise. You see, throughout the evolutionary, if you want to say that purpose evolved unintentionally, you've got to have one point in time where you have both unintentionality and intentionality at the same time. Unintentionality, purposing intentionality before it exists. It's illogical. It violates the law of identity. You can't have something and its opposite coming at the same time, especially in intentionality, because intentionality must be intended in order to be. It cannot arise by accident or whatever you want to say, by random. It's not possible.
No. Yeah, no, I think that's another fake problem. Intention and no, sir,
A
purpose and
fake problem.
intention. No, yeah, like because without these fake problems such as you're gonna burn in hell, so you need God to save you, or hey,
Okay, here's it
you
real
can't
quickly.
have purpose, you
You
can't
are
have purpose
Mark.
unless God. Hmm?
Yeah, but Mark, you realize you're a sinner. Real quick argument there, don't you?
No, I disagree completely.
Do you ever let yourself down for what you would like to do? You do things that you disappoint
Yes,
yourself.
that's not a sin. I don't think sins exist.
Okay, what
You
is
know,
it?
I can do immoral things. Doing immoral things are not sins. Well,
What's the
yeah,
difference?
doing a sin is something that God made in order to punish. Because
And what
a
is
lot of the
immoral?
immoral means when you have morality, meaning you understand when your actions can affect other people, and
So
you know
it's immoral to hurt other people.
absolutely. So yeah, I
Why
do immoral things, but
are humans valuable?
are humans evil?
No, valuable.
Valuable? Yes. Yes, I can be immoral at times, but to call me a sinner, no, that's not the case because that would be like calling me, I don't know,
A
calling
rose by
me.
any other name smells just as sweet.
No, the word sin doesn't mean immoral. That's what I'm saying. Because if that's the case, then God is a sinner. You see what I mean? If that's literally the case, then God is a sinner. God has
How is
done,
that?
come on. I mean, if you want to extend this conversation, but God has
Now, you
killed.
know what? Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's what I'm
Wait,
saying. Like, yeah,
this is another deep one that we.
yeah. I like the morality because I'm very. That's one of my ones that I already have like fluently. Like these new arguments are just things that I've been thinking of lately.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, the
This will
morality
be our
thing.
next hangout. Then we will talk about morality. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd
Yeah,
love
so
to talk about
we
that.
could bring it to a close, but basically I wanted to finish what I was saying because I got
Sure.
sidetracked.
Okay.
Um, um, oh, so I was saying you had a fake problem, and I was saying that's to make God relevant. What I'm saying is, you think that there has to be something else besides we have consciousness, we have wants and desires, therefore we intend to do things, and we have. And I'm saying you're saying, but it can't evolve unless, yeah, it can evolve. Period. It can evolve, like because people who don't intend on surviving won't, and people who do intend on surviving will. Therefore, their offspring are more likely to intend on surviving, and therefore they're going to get smarter and smarter. There may be a time where brains and logic are not evolutionary beneficiary, and and then they won't evolve. They might, well, everything evolves. Even if it gets worse, it's still evolution. But but morality and purpose evolve simply because that helped people strive for things. And if you have morality and purpose, you achieve a lot. So if you achieve a lot, you'll live a lot and your offspring will live a lot. It's very simple. And you don't need no outside agent. I
Right.
don't
So
need,
it helps the goal of survival, right?
absolutely.
So survival is a goal.
Absolutely. For some people.
Okay. That's
But
teleology.
yeah, but it doesn't have to be.
If somebody does not goal towards survival, is there something wrong with them?
Yeah, absolutely. But they can still
Okay.
survive and they can still produce offspring. And like I said, there may be a point where they can be more beneficial.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and close it off there.
Yep.
Thank you, Mark, for entertaining me with this hangout. I enjoyed it. I appreciate your interaction, and we'll have another one, and we'll make that the subject of that one to be morality. I think that would be a good topic since you feel comfortable with that, and that's one of my favorites as well. So
Hmm.
that'd be okay if we do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just, let me know. And I enjoyed myself here. I'll be talking to people in the comments. My channel is Mark Anthony. I'm sure you could probably find me. And I'll be, checking the comments and see what they're saying in the debate.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
All right, same here.
All right. Good night.
All right.